You'll know when you have a wild woman. She'll practice her craft without boundaries. She is truly autonomous. Her loyalty is only to the family she serves, a midwife who will not allow herself to be held back by a system she didn't create.
This podcast is for the birth keepers who want to grow and change. We are open to learning through self-reflection and supportive community. We are creating this space to explore without judgment. We are remembering we were
Born wild.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Born Wild podcast. We're your hosts, Sophia
and Leah.
And do you have any check-in for today?
I cut off my hair.
You did, and you said you hate it.
I do, but
I love it.
But it's growing on me.
Okay.
It's a bob, but it feels very freeing. But yeah, it's a big adjustment. But other than that, I'm fantastic.
That's awesome.
What about you?
I've moved for the 4th time in 2 months. I don't know what's happening with my life. No, we had taken our house off the market to kind of reground ourselves. And then, long story, but we got asked to leave from our rental. It was a misunderstanding, and they didn't realize we'd be moving in there so soon. So they felt like there's too many people. Anyways, we moved back to our house. And so we're just kind of getting settled. And but it's putting it lighting the fire under our butts and encouraging us to take care of all the things we wanted to take care of here. So it's fine. It's just hard, as you can see, to keep the house clean with children.
Yeah.
But we're really excited about our podcast today. And I'm just going to throw it right over to you to introduce yourself to all of our listeners.
Oh, thank you. So my name is Viji Lakshmi, but for short, Viji, because it's a mouthful, Natarajan. And I live in the Bay Area in Fremont, and I am a Ayurvedic doctor, and I specialize in women's reproductive health. So what that really means is that I am passionate about and focus my practice on the entire arc of a woman's reproductive journey. So really from even issues with menstruation and other, female reproductive system issues, but getting pregnant, so fertility aspect of pregnancy itself, labor and delivery, and then troubleshooting in the postpartum, and also really postmenopausal issues that women have had. Interestingly, or not surprisingly, a lot of things, that have arisen from childbirth or before. But so this is my passion. And as an Ayurvedic doctor, everything that I do obviously has a slant of that holistic, natural side. But yeah, so that's me.
Yeah, I don't know how much you know about Ayurvedic. I always hesitate when I say it too. I feel like I'm saying it wrong. I say it a little different each time, figure every 3rd time I'll get it right.
Yeah.
But that's so funny, Sophia. That's so funny.
But I know that I've always been drawn to it. I know little bits about it, but can you speak to what it is?
I can. I will be honest that it takes more than 45 minutes or an hour to really understand. But so Ayurveda is a medical system from India, and it looks at understanding the body looks at understanding disease or ill health from a root cause level. And so there is an understanding that when we are born with a constitution. And that constitution, although in I guess Western media or just media in general, it's very simplified. There are 3 kind of what's known as biological humors called Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And people and it's good to kind of distill something down so that it's easy to digest. But it's a very deep science. So just like we learn about proteins and enzymes and all of these different pathways that exist in the body in Western medicine, that same understanding and breakdown is there in Ayurvedic medicine. But again, so we're born with a constitution which drives how our body functions. And as an Ayurvedic doctor, you literally look at and understand each person's unique combination, so even though there are 3 biological humors, there's different, I would say, percentages of how each of these contribute to how a person functions, whether it be their body, their mind, like all of their like organ systems, their thoughts, everything. So when someone comes to me, I actually do what's known as an Ayurvedic analysis. So I fully analyze them literally from birth till the time that they come to me. So that's a pretty extensive exercise and effort, but I do that. And then based on all of the understandings and findings that I get, so I do analyze like Western medical blood tests and things like that. I don't give them, but people come to me with previous histories and things like that. So putting all of that picture into place, I give them really, I would say, a roadmap on how to support their health in whichever part of the journey that they're in. And obviously, if they're in pregnancy, that's going to influence their baby, how their baby grows in utero, how in fact they actually deliver, and how in fact they actually recover, after the birth. So it's a pretty amazing thing. And we address issues through herbs, through food, through lifestyle, through practices, and the practices, like mind practices, meditation, breathing, things like that.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I have worked a little bit with Ayurveda. I lived at a yoga center in Santa Cruz for a few months when I was 19, and there was actually a little school there. It was Mount Madonna Center.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And what was interesting, what you said about like kind of in the Western culture, they've really simplified it. I've always been quite slender, and even more so than now. I had a baby in April, so I'm like, about 10 pounds heavier than normal. But people would often be like, oh, you're Vata, because I'm so slender.
Yes.
But when I actually had a provider do that for me, I'm totally more Pitta.
Right.
Like, super. And so like, sure, I have certain characteristics of Vata, but it's more in depth than just looking at a person.
Absolutely. You have to look at the functional aspects of the person, and you really got to go. So absolutely. And so even such a subtle thing as that, like, I think people grab onto it and then they run with it, but it may not be the right thing to run with. Like you said, so Pitta is more characterized by heat, and Vata, I would say, let's say, more by dryness and being cold. And if you just, it's a big difference.
She got here.
I'm always cold.
She's like, I need a jacket. I didn't bring a jacket. It's freezing.
But I would say, based on the conversation I had with you about social media, I have a lot of fire and heat. No, and the food aspect, when I did have a practitioner kind of do something for me, there was a lot of stuff with, God, it's escaping me right now, but the basic food of Ayurveda, what is it called? With mung bean and
khichdi.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
My clients, if they're listening right now, are like rolling their eyes. Oh yeah, I know about that.
So good though. Anyway, you have to do a recipe at the end of your interview. A basic one for people, because it's really amazing. Anyway.
The question I had is this a service that you can provide distance, or is this something that you have to see people in person for?
No, that's a wonderful question. Most of it is distant. In fact, coincidentally, I wrote a small book. It was, the intention of the book was actually to be a series. So it's more of like a pamphlet kind of thing, booklet. But so someone who had found my book and, had some issues and eventually wanted to get pregnant had contacted me from Wyoming. She's actually staying with me. So we connected. I did the analysis. Her health totally turned around, and and everything's great, but she's here in the Bay Area right now going for a yoga retreat, and she's staying with me. So anyways, it's a lot of full circle, but yes, so it can absolutely be long distance. I've worked with people all around the world, and I do most of this. You can do a lot through that. There in Ayurveda, we do pulse analysis, we do tongue analysis, we can even do face analysis. There's a lot of different types of analysis that you can do, but what I find, it only just solidifies the conclusion that I have drawn based on all the other things that we talk about. So I hope that makes sense. So I don't need to do a pulse analysis in order to help somebody with their health. It's like, oh yes, what I thought was correct. It just validates.
Yeah. And this is something that you can work with anybody at any age, like babies, kids, adults, or?
Yeah, so that's a question, good question. Babies, I think tend to, so in each stage of our life, there are different things that we're more susceptible to. And so as we get older, we are more susceptible to vata type, issues. In the middle parts of our life, as we're, kind of doing all these podcasts and working and contributing to society, we are more susceptible to pitta type issues. But when we're babies, we are more susceptible to kapha. So that's why you see a lot of kids, with snotty noses and things like that. But my point is that because a baby, when they're first born, is still not yet fully expressing themselves, I would say it's, the analysis per se is less helpful at that time, as opposed to just like a consult, for example. But yes, as one gets older, maybe even teenage onwards, or middle school onwards, yes, you can do this analysis. And one thing I wanted to share, because it just might be helpful, is, so, I recently had a mom who delivered. I helped her deliver her baby, and the baby wasn't gaining weight. So she had, a lot of issues, and she had a lot of gas and other digestive issues as well, but she wasn't gaining weight, even though the mother was feeding her, even feeding, bottle fed, like measured. So she went to a number of practitioners before she kind of came back to me, and they were like, okay, we need to do some serious interventions because, we're a bit concerned. Mm-hmm. So what I shared with her and what I did for her was I figured out where her imbalances were, and they happened to be with vata just coincidentally, but I treated the mom, and within like, I would say 2 weeks, that baby was gaining an ounce a day. Everything was great. So what is so fascinating is for babies, we treat through the mother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. I mean, something that we see a lot and then we tell our families is that like mom and baby are still just so much like one energetic field for a long time, which is why we encourage bed sharing and all that stuff.
Wonderful. Yeah. Absolutely.
Can we pause and kind of go back to, I'd love to hear a little bit of your backstory of like how you even came into this practice, like what your journey was like through that, because I know you dabbled in birth work for a time. So yeah, is there any like start to this journey that you can picture that you'd like to share?
Oftentimes looking back gives you a clearer picture than as you move through things, right? So I would say that what has come to me recently in terms of connecting with what I do and who I am is exactly the question that you asked, where I came from. And so I think from a young age, always wanted to help. And so I would volunteer, like even like very, very young in middle school, like I would volunteer at the homeless shelters. I actually stayed overnight at homeless shelters. And then I actually did a lot of work with battered women. I was a hotline operator when I was young. I actually worked in the shelters. I was telling someone recently, you don't just sit at a like a desk when you're a hotline operator. So now we have cell phones that are really small and fit in your pocket. But back then, like they were like really, it looked like a boom box, the cell phone that I had. And so, and I was traveling and I was young, I think I was in high school, but I had to carry that boombox cell phone with me, and because somebody could call at any point. But anyway, so I had done a lot of work with women, and like when I was, I don't know, in my 20s or early 30s, I volunteered at a former concentration camp. So I think the idea of working with women and children was very important to me. As a career, my first career, I was a scientist. So I worked at a large pharmaceutical company because my desire was to help people. And I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I thought, I thought that they were all for good, and I was going to find the cure for cancer, or at least be a part of it. And yes, but that wasn't the case. And that's probably for another podcast, but I will move on from there. And so while I was at Pfizer, I studied Ayurveda, because really that was what my calling was. I never knew it was called Ayurveda, but I knew that I wanted to study what I thought was like the secret of life. I wanted to know how to help people, and someone had a health issue. How do you solve that by not just giving them a medicine? And so Ayurveda actually stands for Ayur means knowledge. Ayur means life, and Veda means knowledge. So it literally was what I was looking for. So I studied Ayurveda while I was working, and then I started to see patients, but you can't have a full-time job. Or, I don't know, you guys sound like you do so much, but I struggled having a full-time job and then having another one. So I quit my job. I went to India. I studied Ayurveda further, worked in a hospital, and I really wanted to go where, the heart of Ayurveda came from and was born. So, and then I came back, and I soon thereafter actually started my own practice. Now, let me just rewind. So at that point, it was very, very strange because I felt I had a lot of skills, but I didn't know where those skills were going to be like utilized. And I had two friends who happened to be trained as OBGYNs. And I just randomly asked them, like, okay, you guys know me really well. I want to use my intellectual side. I want to use my heart side. I want to use my Ayurveda side. I want to use, I want to use all of me. What do you think I should do next? Should I go to med school? Should I do? And they're like, you should be a doula. And I was like, what's that? And so I looked it up. I thought they were crazy, but I don't know why, but I took the doula training and I didn't think about it. So, I wasn't one of those people who knowingly said, oh, I love birth and I'm going to go into it. But anyway, so I took the doula training, and then I never looked backwards. So I kept morphing. In the beginning, everybody was like, oh, you're a doula. And I really couldn't connect with that term. There's nothing wrong with it, but I didn't connect with it because it didn't wholly describe who I was. And so then I knew, wait, I have a very deep background. Like I'm a trained body worker, I'm a certified yoga teacher. I've done Reiki. I've done so many trainings. And so over the years, then, I've established this practice where, just like I said in the beginning, I help women throughout their entire journey. So only recently, like I would say a couple of months, I stopped doing birth. And I will end with this because where I am right now is marinating, my entire life story. I recently kind of found out that when my husband was in my mother-in-law's womb, she was like, someone tried to kill her. Wow. And so there was, which obviously then means, my husband wouldn't be here either. And so she happened to escape like narrowly. And I see now, I mean, not that I didn't realize this, but throughout the years, the work I've done with women, the work I've done with certain populations, and understanding, like the life of my husband as well, how much the impact of pregnancy and birth, the process, both for mother and child, has on not only the mother and child, but I think society as a whole. And so here is where I come back, like so deeply committed to this work and helping people. And, when I removed that vertical of birth, so I help everybody with everything that I did before. I just right now, for I don't know how long, I'm taking a pause on actually attending the birth. And a lot of people who are probably listening, maybe you guys, I don't know, I think are some people haven't understood, like, wait, what? You don't do birth work anymore? Then should we come to you? Because I've had very good outcomes, phenomenal outcomes in my practice. And I think a large part of it was helping people through trauma that they had experienced without them knowing or being able to articulate that that's actually what they went through. And it didn't have to be during pregnancy or even a previous birth, right? Like for my husband, he's processing now at 47, his trauma at birth, which he didn't really even know much about, but it did affect him. So I think there is great value in understanding oneself as you become, a mother and a parent, because that truly impacts really everyone in the world, because it's like motherhood or through a mother, however that is defined, is the portal through which I think, well, we all come into this world. And so I feel that that's so important. And I definitely want to continue dedicating my life to supporting that.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I think that sometimes there's a tendency like for doulas or midwives, people who, you know, like the birth is very exciting.
Yeah.
And there are junkies that exist in the world. And I think that being a doula is something a lot of people like dabble in, or like when they feel drawn to birth work or just like women's work, you know, like I said, the whole spectrum of reproductive timeline for women, they sort of are like, well, do I want to go to births? And I think it's really great when people do that and then realize that they have other gifts that are really important during that whole cycle. Like, I think there's this emphasis on the birth, which of course it's like, you know, the culmination of so much work. And, but it is this kind of blip, and there's so much more to it that kind of gets lost or not talked about in our culture. So I just think it's really great when people do that work for a time and then realize that like what they have to share is more about like the preparation or the postpartum, which, you know, we always say is so generally like pushed aside in our culture. So yeah, anyway, I just wanted to add that.
If you work like prenatally or postpartum, it gives you such like an upper hand to have experienced birth and supported women through it, even if you don't continue to be like, I understand the process, you know, and I've sat with women through it, and that can, you know, help your pre and postpartum support. Yeah.
I don't I think my doors are always open, you know. I mean, it's literally been a few months as I've allowed the space to for me to nurture another side more, I guess, consciously than another one that I have. But yeah, you never know. The door is always open. But I think the entirety of the birth process, and that even means the birthing of yourself, I think is so important. And I'm really I would like to do a lot of activism around that.
Nice. Can you kind of describe what it looks like when someone does come to you for support? Like, I'm just trying to picture, do they usually come to you because they just want to understand themselves better, or they have like an actual issue or problem they're wanting resolved? And like, what does that support look like? I know you had mentioned food, you know, like what are the layers of support?
Yeah, Sophia, I think this is like the biggest enigma, because I think when people have worked with me, they've never come to work with me for what they eventually end up working with me for. So I think a lot of people only focus on, they're like, you know, I'm pregnant, so hey, you know, help me. I don't know why I'm coming to you. So a large part of what I do is try to understand really like where they're at, who they are, what their story is, to be able to help them. So yes, people do come to me. So the no-brainer is, I have a problem, and I would like help addressing it. I don't want to necessarily go the Western medicine route, or I've gone the Western medicine route, it hasn't helped me, and I'm still where I, you know, started from, and I want to try something different. And I'm, you know, what seems to be like the natural route or this Ayurvedic route seems attractive, and so I'd like for you to help me. Some people come to me like with a problem and they don't know how they're going to, you know, traverse through it. So that's where I come in and say, well, these are the different options. So obviously, like, in order for me to give, because Ayurveda is a very personalized science. So it literally is like, if Sophia came to me with a headache and Leah came to me with a headache, I wouldn't say, here guys, here's this, go home, take it, come back to me, let me know if it worked. I wouldn't do that at all. You know, no, like, I don't care how much you would be willing to pay me, I wouldn't do it. I would say, you know what, Sophia, I understand you came to me for a headache, but I want to understand why you got that headache in the first place. So we would actually, so I would say to you, you have the choice, like the best way to do it, because I'm fairly sure that headache may not be the only thing that you're, you know, going through. How are your periods? And you're like, oh my gosh, yes, like they're really heavy. And I get, you know, some pain, like major pain or like mood, like swings. So that speaks to me about an environment in the body. So I immediately will be able to very accurately guess. People think I'm psychic, but I'm not. I will be able to very accurately guess, like, oh, you might have this problem, and do you have that problem? And they're like, yeah, how do you know? So with that, what I do is I would share with them, you can either do an Ayurvedic analysis, and this is what it is. It really is a gift. So so this analysis, which I alluded to before, I write a 20 to 30 page report. That's a lot. I don't know anyone who has done that. But I write that because I tell them that report will be relevant and important and effective like the rest of your life. So because it talks about who you are, and it's hard to understand even probably for the listeners, like, how is that possible, and how is it possible for the duration of your life? But there's an understanding that your constitution doesn't change, but even if your health changes, it's based on like that canvas that, you know, each of us comes, you know, looking slightly different, maybe a different shape, maybe a different color, whatever that may be. So yeah, so that report actually is relevant for the rest of one's life. And then there's a learning component where, you know, I teach them about Ayurveda actually, so they can utilize that knowledge and the exercise that we did with them to help their kids, to help their spouse, to help their families. So I hope that it propagates. So that's one engagement, and it's a several hour process, you know, with some remote support with WhatsApp. So that's one thing. If some people are like, whoa, I don't even know who you are, and like, yeah, I read your reviews, but then you can do like a 1 hour consult about a particular thing. And, you know, I can go into things, but then I would spend that time asking them, so tell me about your periods, or tell me about your digestion. Do you poop every day? Do you not? Do you have gas? Do you have acid reflux? So like, you know, you have to, I really believe in personalized medicine, that you have to understand the person before you can give them a solution. Otherwise, you know, again, I feel like we're just taking stabs in the dark. It may work, it may not work, but you know,
it's just like temporary band-aids.
Yeah, I don't like temporary band-aids. You know, there's this woman who came to me, she was postmenopausal. She was on so much medication. Everybody was like, oh, you have this problem, that problem. She came to me, and again, I'm not even joking. She had so many issues. But after we did the analysis 2 weeks later, I would say most of the issues were gone. And she was taking medication, then she stopped taking the medication, not all of it, but, you know, some of them, which were just like, you know, some steroids and other things which were not needed. And without them, she was fine. Her digestion was fine. So I think I always tell my clients, proof is in the pudding. So maybe you want to do like a 1 hour consult, get a feel of the practitioner, whether it's me or someone else, and then do that. So I also do body work. I offer body work. And I think that's also another healing modality where you talked about the energetic fields that you can really get. There's a lot of exchange that happens, you know, even beyond like words, but through the hands. And then
so body work is always in person, or are you talking about like distance Reiki kind of support?
Both. But, you know, let's say you have a baby who's having issues, you know, like body issues, digestive issues, like, you know, especially things like torticollis or other things, you know, birth trauma, then I would say it may be helpful for you to come in person, because, well, it will be helpful so that I could see the baby and really, really understand what's going on. Some people come to me are like, oh, my baby has lots of problems. And when they come, I'm like, actually, no, your baby doesn't have lots of problems. If you just do this, you know, it'll solve it. Mm-hmm. So like I shared before, sometimes you have to work through the mother. You know, maybe the mother is eating something that is aggravating the baby and she doesn't know. The problem I find that happens a lot is that people just like practitioners usually say, cut out dairy, cut out gluten, cut out, you know, the sugar. And there are reasons why they say that, but it's deeper than that. You got to strengthen the digestive system of a person beyond just not giving the foods that are, you know, heavy and difficult to digest. Mm-hmm. But I could go on and on. So anyways, I don't know if I answered your question. I hope I did.
You did. Yeah. Just like kind of painting a picture about the types of support. Where does like the food piece come in? Do you like bring food? Do you make food? Do you give recipes? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. Okay, great question. So I don't I only make food for myself. So the food part comes in where once I analyze really like what's going on with you and what works best for you, then I share with you dietary guidelines. So based on your own constitution and also what potential imbalances you have, I give you, food guidelines. So these are the best types of foods. These are foods that, you can eat, but don't go overboard, and then these are foods where, well, you should try to minimize. And then for the postpartum time, I do give some recipes and guidelines around that as well, because like you mentioned, it's oftentimes overlooked, but that is a very, very important part, for healing. So in that regard, I do give some recipes, but there are a lot of actually really wonderful recipe books out there. I think it's more important, or from my perspective, I do the educative part about, hey, this is what's good for you. And so then when armed with that knowledge, they can go and make recipes what they like. Like if you like more Mexican type of food or Indian food or Cuban food or whatever it may be, then you can kind of utilize the foods that are good and then, and good for your palate.
Got it. Yeah, I want to hear about the kitchery thing.
Yeah.
What do they call it? Tridosic, or I'm butchering that, but
that's
it
okay.
works for all of the
impressed.
all the things, all the people,
all the people,
three people types.
No, you're right. It's tridosic. So all three, body constitution types. So yeah, I just have a really funny story about that. So I had this mom who came to me. She was pregnant and she had repeated UTIs, and she kept taking antibiotics. They would go away for like 2 days and they would come back again. So finally, I told her, and she was a client of mine for a long time, but even though you seem to like khichdi, it can be a somewhat, bland food. So anyways, so my client, I was like, listen to me, I'm like, it's killing me to hear you say that you're getting like all these UTIs. So this is what I'm like, you got to go on this khichdi. We're going on a khichdi diet for 3 days. She goes, 3 days? I said, yes. And if you don't do this, I am not coming to your birth. Now, of course, I was, of course, going to go to her birth. She knows me very well. I helped her with all of her children, but I was like, no, I'm serious. I'm not going to your birth unless you listen to me, because she's taking all these antibiotics. Nothing is happening. The doctor did, and then she got it again. It's like, wait, I can't handle it. So I told her, you're going to do this, and that's it. So she begrudgingly did it. And I'll tell you what it is. But so when she did it, she never got a UTI again. And when we went to the hospital for her birth, before I got there, she told the nurse the story. So when I went, the nurse goes, hey, so what's this magic porridge you gave her? And I'm like, no. I need for you to understand. So Ayurveda believes that everything starts in the digestive system. So when, for example, someone's having repeated UTIs, urinary tract infections, it's very obvious that their immunity isn't as strong as it could be, because, not everybody's not getting UTIs. It's not like in the air, and so how Ayurveda addresses it by strengthening the digestive system. So when you're we are what we eat. So when you're adding stuff to your body and the body can't handle it, it's going to be like, hey, and it'll stop you in its tracks, and it may do it by a UTI. So khichdi is a combination of basmati rice, which is just a type of rice, and which actually, Ayurveda understands that every substance has a property. So there's like a million different types of rices out there actually, and each one of them does have a different property. So jasmine rice is different than basmati rice, which is different, and there's many different types of rices. So that's hard because not everybody knows what those qualities are, but that's where you got books. So there are resources out there. So anyways, basmati rice, a 1-to-1 mixture of basmati rice and mung dal, MUNG, basically beans. It's green in color, unhusked, and then yellow when it's broken. So when you do a 1-to-1 mixture, actually mung beans have the quality of being anti-acidic or anti-pitta. So it reduces heat in the body. And when you're having an infection, there's a lot of heat in the body. So I asked her to do that with some dietary, like just herbs like, turmeric. I'm trying to translate from the Indian, but turmeric, cumin, maybe a little bit of ginger, there's another herb called asafoetida, and I love this herb, so it makes me laugh every time I say it because of the word ass, but asafoetida, also known as hing, it's very, very good. It's a carminative, which means that it reduces gas in the body, so that bloating and other things. So anyway, so you add this, you can cook it in the rice cooker, you can add, some curry leaves, and I think it is scrumptious, a little bit of salt. But when you do that, what happens is it regulates your digestion. It's like, it just gives your body a break from everything, and so that it can strengthen. And I would say that there's very few people who have done it under like guidance that it hasn't helped for various things. Mm-hmm. And if you're listening out there and you have gestational diabetes, or you're scared that you're going to get it again, I'm going to tell you right now, any client of mine that comes to me before they get gestational diabetes or before that test is done, if you do this Khichdi cleanse and you are like, and obviously there's a little bit more to the story, but each person's different. None of my clients have then been repeatedly diagnosed with gestational diabetes, gotten over it. So there's a lot that just this Khichdi, porridge can do. I don't know if I answered your question, but totally. It's like, I get so excited about this because, that lady was like, and I said, no. I just worked on her immunity by addressing her digestive system. It worked. And then, she ate normally, and there you go. She never got a UTI again.
Beautiful. Do people ever struggle to find some of the ingredients? Because like one of the herbs you were talking about, the ass herb, like I've never heard of it before. So like, where would somebody find this?
Girl, everything is on Amazon, and
I'm not allowed to shop Amazon.
Okay, well that's okay. You don't need to shop on Amazon, but this lady who's here with me, who's from Wyoming, there's not much of anything that's there. Sorry, Wyoming. This is what she said, you got to travel far. So even she's able to get stuff. So yes, if we're living in the San Francisco Bay Area or surrounding areas, come on, there are plenty of stores that have all of these things, like local shops. So yeah, you can actually get it in an Asian shop, for example, or an Indian shop. It is on Amazon, but there are other ways to order that are actually even like online. You can order from a local mom and pop shop, but they have an online platform that you can get, like organic, unadulterated, because this is the problem nowadays, that even the foods that are good, like good for you, are adulterated, right? So, you might get actually this asafoetida, there are different forms of it. So there's a form where most of it is like, I don't even know what they put in there, like a lot of crap. They put, so you're like, oh, I'm buying this and it's really good. Well, you're getting like 1% of it, because if you look at it, it's filler ingredients. So, make sure that you source your stuff, and, but, to be organic, and it's 100% whatever it is supposed to be. But yeah, you can get it. You can get it online.
Great. We'll get a recipe from you, and we'll put it in the show notes for the listeners. And maybe if you have any like mom and pop shops that you recommend, we'll put a link in there so people know where to grab their supplies.
Okay. Amazing.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah.
Well, this was really educational, because I like I said in the beginning, I've heard a lot about it, and I know little bits, like when you were talking about like pitta, I was like, I've heard that before, but I just didn't like have a understanding of it. So thank you for explaining.
You're welcome. I just wanted to leave with like, just one thought, because it is really important. Like, no matter what type of work you do to support, women, whether it be through birth or any kind of other areas of a woman's timeline, when you know yourself, then you are much more better armed at being able to support yourself. So for example, like a woman who has a certain constitution tends to birth in a certain way. And so when you know that, then even let's say a midwife, you're like, oh, this person is very pitta, for example. Okay, so this is how I can even support her in the words that I use to encourage her. Some people, so we already know this by like being a birth worker, like some people want it quiet, some people, they want the encouragement, some people, they want, just to be held, a space to be held. Some people want more, active support. So we kind of are able to know that as we gain experience and work with people. But even when you look at it through the lens of like very easily being able to even look or feel or understand someone, then you can help them in a deeper way as well.
That is so interesting. I really that makes total sense. And it's just not something that occurred to me. But I think even for a pregnant person, getting that kind of evaluation from you and knowing maybe what challenges might come up for them in particular with their birth, and incorporate that into their preparation. That to me just seems like it's a no-brainer, but it's just not something that I would have thought of. So yeah.
Yeah, those of you listening, and like for example, cholestasis. You know, people some of these things can be very, very consequential, meaning that if you're in a particular system, then if you have a particular condition, like, I don't know how much choice you are given or feel like you're given when they're like 37 weeks, you're going to be induced. And you're like, wait, what? I had a great pregnancy, but I just have, like a rash on my belly. But cholestasis, you can, like Ayurveda has a predictive ability. So somebody with a very deep Pitta constitution is very much at risk for cholestasis, because when Pitta gets aggravated, that affects the liver. And the liver is obviously, very much tied in with cholestasis or even PUPS in the postpartum. So that's why, like, for example, if I see someone and they come to me just early in pregnancy, I will share with them, okay, so it looks like, you have like a Pitta imbalance, and this, I'm not saying you're going to get it, but I want you to have this awareness that it could be something that you may be challenged with. But guess what? No reason to be scared. A, you don't have it now. And B, we can work together so that you don't ever get it. And I'll be very honest with you. I have women who have literally 100% chance of getting it because they had it in their first, they're having a boy, blah, blah. There's a lot of, all the other things, and they don't get it again. And that's because of active management of that Pitta throughout their pregnancy so that they don't get it. And then that affords them greater choice in childbirth.
So cool.
Beautiful.
It's so great.
Yeah, we have the program we have where we support clients and make notes through their pregnancy. We have a feature that auto sends them information we've created throughout their pregnancy. Like every week they get a drop of information.
Wonderful.
And I was just thinking we should have a section that goes out of alternative practitioners that they might want to hire to support them through their pregnancy, and little blips about it, like Ayurvedic or Chinese medicine, or, just acupuncture, chiropractor, so that they can read about them and be drawn one direction or another to find additional support.
Yeah, no, it's great. I think when things come up with our families, it's we do chiropractic, acupuncture, maybe therapist, but those are kind of the two really big referrals that we do that we find are really helpful. But this will be so helpful.
Yeah.
So those are great. That's the thing. It's so wonderful to have so many different practitioners, and it's just, we're all looking at the same thing just from a slightly different angle, but it's just wonderful. I just wish that everybody in the world could have access to all of it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing your journey and your offerings. And if anyone is trying to connect with you, what are some of the ways they could find you? And we'll share it all in the show notes too.
Okay, absolutely. So my website is actually my name, my shortened version. So Viji, Viji Natarajan.com, or you could actually just Google Divine Journey, which is the name of my practice. Or you can send me an email at info@divinejourney.me.
Great.
Awesome.
Beautiful. Do you have any social media handles where people can find you at?
Oh yeah, I think if you look up Divine Journey on Instagram or even Facebook, I think those are the two. I mean, I'm getting into the social media aspect. I'm not as active as I would like to be, but yes, in the future. And TikTok, you might see me do a few dances on TikTok.
I
love it. Awesome.
Great. Well, thank you again.
You're welcome.
Thanks everybody for listening. You can find us at Born Wild Podcast on Instagram, For inquiries or feedback, you can email us at bornwildpodcast@gmail.com. You can find me, Emma Ray, on Instagram at Emma Ray, REA, Sophia at sophiabirth.com,
and me, Leah, at Bay Area Home Birth.
We would really appreciate it if you would rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It helps us reach more people. And as always, stay wild.